It was
So
done
wait, Caswell, go do that again for me because it broke up and I didn't hear entirely. So you're saying that traditionally BRA would have collected the garbage and sewage tax, but it is now being collected by a statutory board, which is yeah.
BRA has taken over the tax collection agencies. You had land tax, you had licensing authority. So BRA was consolidated, made a statutory board and collect money, but they collect it and pay into the treasury.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the money goes into the treasury, that's what they call the consolidated fund. When you want money to the consolidated fund, there is a process. It has to be either in the estimate, when you discuss the estimate, every end of the financial year to make sure that it passes before April 1st, or not government will have any money, and they can't pay anybody. So the estimates is always a big thing, and to make some song and dance about having people in the relevant parliament making a mockery of the whole process. But that's for another time. And put civil servants to answer the questions that politicians were elected to answer, because the politicians are dumb. So they have to put civil servants in the relevant parliament to answer the questions that they should be answering. They are in control of their ministries, and they are the people who were elected to answer those questions. But some public servants like the little show, they feel proud to go in parliament, and they know that the boys that they should be doing. They don't know they're a bunch of idiots. However, when money goes into the consolidated fund, it don't just come out like that. It is in the estimates. You have to put money in the estimates, and then the Minister of Finance gives a warrant to the Accountant General to pay out that money. When it goes to a statutory board, there's no warrant from the Minister of Finance. The people can stick their hand in it as they like, and they have been doing. Now, if that money was collected by the authorities that normally collect taxes in Barbados, the water authority can take it and use it. So you understand what's happening now. Anybody, even the water authority, get their hands on the money. And let me point out to you, this money or this tax was raised in their budget. Let me explain what a budget is. That song and dance that you see people make all these fancy speeches is not the budget. A budgetary proposal is a proposal to raise a tax. That's what the law says. If you check the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act, an act that was passed in 1967, that act gives the Minister of Finance or somebody acting on his behalf the power to raise taxes. In an emergency situation, like for instance, you have the estimates. They're saying that you're going to have $1 billion in revenue, but your expenditure is projected to be $1.5 billion. So you got a shortfall of $0.5 billion there, and you got to raise this. You got to find that money. So what this legislation does is to give government the authority to raise taxes without going to Parliament and going through the necessary bills, and then going through Parliament. That should take some time. Mind you, things go through Parliament now overnight. So this legislation will already matter now because you can do it overnight, as these people do. But normally, that legislation would allow the minister to raise a tax. He can only raise a tax, or he could create a new one. But he can't even lower a tax in the budget. I've seen it done, but it is against the law to do so. If you're going to lower a tax, you go to Parliament. However, this tax, I can read the definition of tax in the Provisional Collection of Taxes Act. It says the tax includes all assessments, charges, duties, fees, rates, impositions, and other levies, however called, the proceeds of which are payable into the Consolidated Fund as part of the revenues of Barbados. So the money had no right going to the Water Authority. Then you raise it in the budget. It's against the law. They knew that.
Mm. So you're saying the money, the taxes raised and going to the water authority is against the law. And
It's
I,
contradictory.
I'm learning a lot of things, and I'm learning that there are lots of things. I don't know what the reason is. If it because there's a lot of young people in the government, or they're rushing along things, but they're doing seem to be doing a lot of things that are not lawful, that it doesn't go in it's not in contravention of the law. It is in
Marcia,
contravention of the law.
it is not. It is not a lot of young people that in the parliament. Did that. If you had that young man there, sir, on this screen in parliament, he's young too, but he ain't dumb. So you got young and dumb. That's the problem. So anything happens, they're going there. I don't even speak to the bill. They talk all kind of fancy foolishness. I'm like, I saw the paper today. Mr. Cummings is reported to saying that senators should be covered by the Integrity and Public Life Bill because senators serve on statutory boards and all kind of thing. That idiot. The people on statutory boards are under the that bill already. So you don't need it to be a senator or anybody else for that thing. They just talk. They're talking heads. And so many people give them a brief, but they don't really understand it and they talk rubbish. And the thing is, the people in newspapers report it and make it sound like it makes sense. It does not make sense. Mike, let me go on with this Provisional Collection of Taxes Act. When you raise a tax in the budget, you have 4 months to bring the necessary legislation to Parliament, or the money must be refunded to the people you get it from, It has never happened. They go to Parliament and then pass an illegal bill called a validation bill. You cannot raise a tax in retrospect. That is contrary to law. You cannot take up somebody's property from last week. You have to take up, and money is property. The courts have already decided that money is property. So when you take up a person's property, you have to do it from tonight. That's why I remember you used to say in the budget from midnight tonight. Never said from last week. Mind you, I've seen budgets that back a tax bill in the past, but that is illegal. That's unconstitutional. But you think people pay conscience any mind nowadays? They do what they like, and because they have people who are dumb, who don't understand government, don't understand anything, just they are in there to get their pension after 8 years and live and then get it from age 50. That is all they want to do. And they will not challenge the Prime Minister. They will not challenge anybody in defense of their constituents if it means that they might not survive for the next election or they will try to get rid of them. So they toe the line. So when they toe the line, they are not acting as representatives of the people. They are acting as representatives of the Barbados Labour Party. No, parties in Barbados do not run in elections. In Guyana, yes, you have a party and a party list. And you go forward. So the parties are running. However, in Barbados, every person that runs to as an independent person. Mind you, remember I was the party, but the Barbados Party does not put a candidate before the House. So your first duty is to the people who elect you, not to the Prime Minister, not to anybody else. And all of these changes, even the changes that are so fundamental to everybody in Barbados, did you hear of any MP who held a constituency meeting to tell the constituents, well, this is what's going to happen in national insurance? Poor fellas, some of them don't even know. That's the problem. And even if they knew, most of them didn't understand. You see, this country is too corrupt, and corruption is so pervasive. People think
Right.
that corruption is normal.
I wanted to say some things here. I just want to show the disparity in how the government is applying economic policies to this country. Before this, garbage and sewage tax, we had the municipal solid waste tax. And the municipal solid waste tax was charged on properties that were over a certain value. I think it was over 200 and some $1,000. If your property was valued above that, you then qualify to pay this municipal solid waste tax. So it exempted what we would call the poor, or persons who did not have um, land and land that was or houses that were valued over a certain amount. We protested that. The government protested that and said it was one of the worst taxes, whatever. The government took the municipal solid waste tax, repealed it, and implemented it in the same form now as the garbage and sewage tax. And what they did know is to say that every Barbadian poor have to pay this tax. Before, the poor were not paying this tax in the municipal solid waste tax, and she protested that, and then came back now and put the tax right on the water bills for every Barbadian to pay.
So
As far as I know,
hold a minute, Kimar, I'm asking the questions like an average Bajan. So the tax that she protested, it was the merchants that were paying that tax.
So there are two different things.
Am I right with that?
No. There are two different things. The tax he's talking about is the municipal solid waste tax. The other tax that the merchants weren't paying was the National Social Responsibility Levy.
Right. Yes. Okay.
The merchants were paying. And the merchants didn't want it. The merchants enlisted to support the Barbados Labour Party and the idiot unions and get it repealed. And it was the fairest tax. But Kimar, continue. I want to talk about this thing that you're talking about. So I don't want to sidetrack you.
Yes. Go ahead, Kimar. Go ahead, Kimar.
so when you look at the disparity, it's the government directly went after the poor people. Went after the poor people. People who ain't got no sewage, people who still using wells and toilets. You now have to pay a sewage tax for a sewage that's supposed to be clean, for garbage trucks that you already bought. But we're still paying the sewage tax, which you say was supposed to be temporary. And like I said, there's no check, no balance, no record. And you illegally rerouted that tax to hide the fact and to hide reporting, because every parliamentary setting you could have seen what the municipal solid waste tax made in the estimates, in the central bank reports, whatever. But we can't see what the sewage tax is making. So that type of opaque governance, where they would purposely sit and use the laws of parliament to redirect money around you, because to me this is direct robbery of the people. You're using the parliament to rob the people. Then you're hiding the fact of how much money the public has made. On top of that, then you have an entity taking up this money without the approval of the Ministry of Finance to just do what they want, do with it. And also nobody even seem like they care or concerned. But this Swiss tax, according to the general manager, has made over $300 million. So we have over $307 million unaccounted for. It's unaccounted for. There's no record you can reference. There's no document. We have to go with what he is saying. But still, he can't publish this as any official document or anything to verify to the, because the BW is not a tax collection agency. So he don't have to publish anything. He doesn't have to come to the public. So to get justice for us, this is where ICAB and this is where the Bar Association should be challenging the financial improprieties of this government, taking them to court and forcing them to become transparent. Because to me, this is illegal.
There's one aspect of this tax that I want to address. The tax that won $50 a day works out of $45 a month. All right? And it was put on every water bill. So there are houses in the city in particular that have a
We're not
pipe.
hearing Caswell. Caswell, they're saying they're not hearing you well. Can you all hear him? Somebody's saying they're not hearing well. Do you have a fan or something on?
Now let me just I just raise it a little higher. If that's
Okay,
better
all
now.
right.
Yes.
Yes, let's try that. Mhm.
This tax, as I said, is 40 $150 a day, $45 a month.
Yes.
That was put on the water bill. The minimum water bill in Barbados is $32. If you do not turn on your pipe, let's say you went away and you did not turn on your pipe for that entire month, you will still pay $32.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some people who use very little water, and when the meter is red, they don't use enough water to go above $32. And some of those people have just a single pipe running from the road into the yard, and they do all of their business at that little pipe in the yard, even better under that pipe. Some of them, to this day, and I don't mind telling you, don't have any water toilets or any toilets at all. But you are paying a sewage tax. But worse yet, the tax is higher than your water bill. You are paying a tax that is higher than the service you are getting. That makes a lot of sense to the government. So you are putting a disproportionate burden on the very poor. And I'm going to show you how I know that some of these people don't have toilets at all. You know, I know I represent some people at Sanitation. And it has been reported to me that sometimes these people, when they don't have any toilets, they put their sewage in garbage bags. And when they put them in the garbage bags, this was known all back in Oinatha's time. That is why Oinatha set up the Urban Development Commission to make sure those people in that area have these amenities. I don't know what's happening still because Oinatha dead and gone, and that commission was set up in a lot of years, and some people still haven't gotten those amenities. But you put it in the garbage bag, and what happened? The fellas have compacted trucks. So you put the garbage bag in there, you expect the compact. So the thing comes down and squeezes the bag. And crush, sanitation man bailed from head to toe in stool. Happened more than one occasion. So we know the fellas are going to toilet. But he's still paying a sewage tax. This is what this government is doing to poor people.
Yeah. And the sewage supposed to be fixed and the truck supposed to be bought. So if you fit, and we need to speak about that sewage thing because they borrow loans from the Chinese to fix that sewage on top of taxing us to fix the sewage. And they borrowed two loans to fix that sewage plant since they
No,
came in. And it was in their budget. So they can't say that they didn't borrow. I clearly remember it was over $16 million or so that they went and borrowed to fix that sewage plant. So how could you then be going and borrowing loans and monies on top of this tax already that has made as it over 300 and something $1 million? Again, the water authority doing what they feel it with it, but still you turn around and borrowing more money to fix a sewage that you claim to already fixed.
but trust me when I tell you, you see that sewage on the roads during the last part of the from the Strat administration? That was sabotage done by minions of the Barbados Labour Party. And you don't see as soon as they win the government, the fellas just went open up the pipe, that the block, and it went off the road. It was deliberately done to make that last administration more unpopular than they were. Just like people put T-shirts in the engines of buses that transport board. Yes, the fine T-shirts inside there. Just like the fine pillows in the sewage. In the sewage plant,
And
sewage
or
that
beds and
covers
all type of thing.
that cannot pass through the pipes. It was done deliberately, just like a fellow who got sent home from the Ministry of Public Works. He then said, "Well, look, let's send him home." No, when they were letting off people, and he's one of the people who helped sabotage the truck. And he was vexed. The Barbados Labour Party engaged people, but you know, like criminals. Because if you remember, who got special invitations to the parliament when they opened, so that they know who the criminals are and they can engage their services. And they engaged a lot of people.
I want to say something about Combermere School. You remember there were a lot of issues with Combermere School. And I remember speaking to someone there in authority. I wouldn't say who it is. And they said to me, Mrs. Weeks, we would go and we would turn the tap. We would turn there's some tap that they turn there. They turn it off. And by the time they get back in the morning, the tap is open to let out this fume so that there's no school. So even at Combermere School, there are people there in authority who believe that there was sabotage, that it was deliberately done. Now, this is not trying to say that the DLP everything was all great with them. I'm just specifically speaking about Combermere School that I know from people who are in authority there, not just somebody not from a teacher. And this is what I was told. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds like sabotage to me, but I don't know.
But it was planned. It was calculated. Barbados Labour Party needed to get in the power at all costs. Probably their reserves are running low, so I get back in government to fill back up. And that's the reason the tax along the pass the integrity public life bill had to get the finances up, charged up first before they start declaring the assets. Now they got assets to declare. So don't let the body fool you. People, go ahead. Go ahead, son.
You know, they also destroyed the last wetlands we had in Greenhouse Swamp by running that sewage through the swamp and destroying what was left of Greenhouse Swamp. That if you actually take a walk up in there, you will see the after effects of what they did by running that all the sewage through the Greenhouse Swamp. And from speaking to some one or two engineers, they didn't have to do that. They did not have to do that. So we need to look at fresh monies again to be able to replenish that swamp, because a lot of the nature, a lot of the birds, and a lot of the water life and all of that was removed. So many of the birds who used to migrate coming to Barbados to use that Greenhouse Swamp, they don't come no more because it was destroyed because when they run the sewage through the swamp. So we need to look for them coming.
While poor people are paying, I thought people who cannot afford. Some of these people can afford the $32, and you put $45 on top of that. But I cannot tell you how I get this, because in my job, I go to departments and I get information when I'm representing people. So it will not be fair, or nobody will trust me if I divulge names and stuff that I get as a result of doing my work. But I can tell you, without calling names, that there are large hotels in Barbados that were paying $32 a month for water too, and $45 for tax. The same as the old fellow down the road, old pensioner. And so while they weren't doing anything about those people, they were cutting off poor people. Imagine hotels in Barbados, and I'm not talking about the little two-door hotel or the 7 or 10 rooms. They were still paying for $32 for water. You look shocked, Marcia.
When I see you, I
can tell you what the hotel is. But I cannot, who the hotels are. I cannot say this because I got it in a confidential setting through when I was defending one of the persons who was trying to make those people pay taxes and to charge them. You have staff member seeing these people not paying taxes, not paying their water bills, and saying, these people using hundreds of thousands of gallons of water and only paying $30, and the staff member went after them. That staff member got charged, and they had to go and represent them. So that's how I knew all this. Here we tell you, you would not believe it.
Wow. And everybody's paying the same $45 a month. And I mean, if what you're saying is correct, I mean, what the $32 is standard. and now the
Not
the
$32 standard.
45
If
is
you lose less than the measurable amount, that's the last. That you do not pay less than $32. If a person,
right.
like, if you just use your water for a couple of days, or you don't use it at all, you will pay $32. But hotels in Barbados were paying $32. How many hotels you know would pay the minimum rate, the same as the old pensioner would do? And when the officer tried to make them pay, the officer get charged. And they had to spend time going to the representing the officer who was standing up for this country.
So you know that the total arrears owed to the Barbados Water Authority was just the 80 something $million, around $88 million, and the garbage and sewage tax collected that 4 times over. But the government was walking around knocking on poor people's houses, sending them notices for enforcement for owing little over like $80 and 100. It's still happening right now, you know.
I am aware.
The government actually running down people for garbage and sewage tax and outstanding bills. When the garbage tax alone, that has nothing to do with you actually paying in water. The garbage tax alone made the arrears 4 times, and the government could have just completely written off all arrears for every single Barbadian 4 times over, and it still won't put that in them because it collects sewage tax the next day.
But
Government
they
never.
wrote off taxes for their fathers and other big people in Barbados who did not pay taxes between 1968 and 2000.
Yeah,
They can't
and
write off.
they wrote
They
off
can't
billions.
write off a $80 bill or $120 bill for poor people who can't afford it. Some of them are working, some of them on welfare. They're not writing off those, but they wrote off hundreds of millions of dollars for people who some collected VAT and didn't pay in. Some made money
Mhm.
and any revenue didn't get any, so they wanted some, put them before the court, and then the government came in and wrote it off. Between 1968 and 2000, you imagine not paying a cent of tax between 1968 and 2000? And you're a prominent member
Yeah.
of society, you're a prominent member of the bar. You know, you people better get
So
get
so the
with it.
question is because we want to we want to talk a little bit about the integrity in public life bill, and Lynette has a little presentation that she wants to do tonight. But I want to know from you, Mr. Stewart, what do you suggest? What do we do as I mean, we're listening to this and seeing how illegal the illegality of this tax, that it has not been done properly, like and so many other things. We don't. There's no sense of accountability. It's not. I'm seeing here that it's not even included in the estimates. The budgetary proposal, the estimates in the budgetary proposal. It's not when everything else are normally that happens. Normally Bra would collect it. It's not done legally. It's supposed to be that way. They went and did their own thing. What do we do as people? We're listening to this right now. What are we going to do? Accept it? We're going to continue to accept it. What do we do?
This thing was happening in the first session on the Barbados Labour Party. The water and sewage tax was done in the first year. And those same people put on red shirts and went vote for them, red shirts that they forgot. People, they said politicians are better got short memories. Well, that memory was really short. And this time I vote for them. So, mind you, and I don't even worry about the people who voted. This election, since we had universal adult suffrage, was one of the lowest turnout ever. 59% of the people on the voters list did not vote. That's another thing. Some people didn't like Verla. A lot of misogynists that they have inside the Democrat Labour Party who don't want a woman. Bright young woman, far brighter than who we got. But they don't want her. So they work behind the scenes and pretend they're working for her and make sure she lost. So she got sabotaged. I curse everybody tonight, so don't worry about me. So they sabotage Verda. She ain't get them ain't get a seat. So 59% of the people didn't vote. But the Bibles, they probably make sure their people went out.